Good afternoon, my name is Jaime Alvarado, and today we'll be talking about Wrestle Off Day, starring me, Jaime Alvarado, and my cousin, Orlando Alvarado. Orlando was the one who actually introduced me to the sport of wrestling, or as I call it, my addiction to wrestling. As years passed by, I developed a passion for the sport, while he slowly faded away from it. About my junior year of high school, I had begun getting close to Orlando despite the differences we had in the past. As we developed a connection again, I'd encouraged him to try out for the wrestling team that year. So he did, only in one condition though, that I would be the one helping him. During the season, we spent a lot of time together on and off the mat, so we ended up forming a very strong bond, as in if I went somewhere, he would be right next to me. After weeks of hard work, a tragic day came upon us. The horrible news was that we had to have a wrestle off. In wrestling, when there's two wrestlers at the same weight, they are forced to have a wrestle off. This is just a way to distinguish who the better wrestler is for that specific weight class. Whomever loses is either dropped down to JV or has to drop or rise to the next weight class. This may sound simple, but one has to have yet another wrestle off if there's already another wrestler there at that weight. So this was bad news for me because even though I had already taught Orlando everything I knew he wouldn't be able to beat me. This news ruined the entire day for me. I had lost all train of thought and while in my classes. Just imagining the different scenarios of what could possibly happen, how he could feel after the match, how I would feel, or what he would think of me afterwards. My friends would have to repeatedly call for my attention because I wouldn't be paying attention in our conversations. Lunchtime came around, and by this time I was usually super hungry, but because of the bad news, I had lost my appetite, and believe me, I am not one to be skipping out of lunch. As the day progressed, I felt more and more worried because practice was getting closer. My next few periods after lunch were always my favorites because I had team sports and weight training, classes who only athletes can have. Most of all, I liked weight training the most because that's what I would do whether I had a good day or a bad day. So I used this time to clear my head on what was bound to happen. And it just so happened that while I was lifting, my coach came in and asked if I was ready for the wrestle off, which just made me feel horrible once again. Those memories had come back. I lifted even harder. I had an idea. What if I lifted hard enough and I would tire myself out and maybe not have so much energy to wrestle? Maybe just to even out the match just a little bit. As a custom, we started to get ready and head into the wrestling room a couple minutes before school ended just so we can start practice the moment the bell rang. So during this time, I decided to talk with my coach and explain to him just how much it would bring my cousin down if I beat him right away, and if it was okay if I take it easy on him. He disagreed and explained that I should treat every match like it was a state match, so I just agreed with him just to get him off my case. The time had come. Hearing the bell was like hearing a gunshot. I knew that practice wasn't going to end well. As practice began, I tried to mentally calm myself down, but it wasn't working. Oh no, I thought. Coach was calling out the lightweights for their wrestle off, and we were next. As Coach called my cousin and I to go to the middle of the mat, I felt like walking out instead, or asking to go to the restroom. As we started wrestling, I thought to myself, what if I beat him by points instead of just pinning him right away? We went about 2 rounds just back and forth, and eventually my coach caught on what I was doing. He wasn't too happy about it and called me out on it. He gave me a look and told me to cut it out and pick up the pace. I hesitantly said, "Yes, sir." Not even 10 seconds passed in the third period by the time I had him on his back against the mat. I could see the struggle in his face while trying to get me off, but it was too late and he was out of time. His coach blew his whistle to call the pin. I felt like all our hard work had gone down the drain, and all those weeks of hard work, sweat, and dedication had dried out. I felt as if I had let him down as a role model, a captain, and worst of all, as a cousin. I asked if he was alright, and he said he was fine, making it seem like he really was fine, but I knew that deep inside he felt distraught. I asked him again the next day, and he told me the same thing. Then I asked if he was still going to practice that day. He told me that he wasn't going to be able to come out for the wrestling team because of some issues at home. This tore me into pieces, just knowing that it was because of the match. I tried to apologize and tried to explain that it was just a match and nothing personal. I was just doing what coach told me to do. He just simply nodded. I told him not to feel bad, that it was only his first time trying it after so long, and that he could always try to drop or rise another weight class, or just simply stay in JV, just so he can get more experience. Because as he gets into varsity, the wrestlers are much stronger and faster with amazing technique, whom I thought he wasn't ready for. To this day, we still have our differences and we still continue to talk, but our bond is no longer there. And yet, I feel like it'll take more than a year to regain that confidence and bond again.